Cheryl, I believe you have a scoop.
Indeed I do, Tom. Breaking news from the Great Lakes inform us of an invasive species taking the lakes by storm. Now, Todd, tell the folks back home what exactly an invasive species is.
Well, through my extensive research, Cheryl, invasive species are basically an organism with a high biotic potential that are introduced deliberately or accidentally into an ecosystem where they displace the native species.
Wow, Todd, that was a lot of words. Now let's go to Nancy down by Lake Michigan with a report on this fishy invasive species. Nancy?
Thanks, Cheryl. I'm here with Bob Lewis, a local fisherman from the Great Lakes. Now, tell us a bit about this invasive species. Where did they come from, and what is being done to stop them?
The big problem here is the Asian carp. They came to the Great Lakes from China and were imported here in the 1970s to the agricultural fish farm ponds, but escaped to the Mississippi River and spread north. We're trying to stop them, but installing electric fences and 2,000 pounds of fish poison has been dumped into the waterway to control these fish devils.
Wow, Bob. Thanks for your time and information. Back to you, Cheryl.
Thanks, Nancy. Now, Todd, why does this population keep spreading and increasing in population size?
Well, Cheryl, the Asian carp spread widely because they find few acts of resistance such as predators, competition, and parasites in the new environment. They also reproduce extremely fast, laying more than 1 million eggs in a lifespan.
That's a lot of eggs, Todd. Now, a lot of economic problems have followed these fish. Within a few years of the carp invasion, many commercial fisheries have been abandoned. As native fish have disappeared, the fish market is slowing down, putting many fishermen and fish farmers out of business. Now, you at home may be wondering, what other problems are these fish causing? Earlier this week, wow! We have breaking news! Over to you, Wendy, with the story.
Thanks, Cheryl. I'm sitting here with Lillian Jones, a victim of a horrific catastrophe earlier today. What exactly happened, Lillian?
Well, it was a beautiful afternoon, so I decided to take my boat down to the Mississippi River. I was just sitting by the shore, enjoying the view of the miraculous landscape, and it was starting to get a little hot, so I started up the motor and headed downstream.
Yes, I understand. And what happened next?
Suddenly, I saw a fish jump out of the water. It was then I saw my life flash before my eyes.
Okay.
And the fish slapped me across the face. I became discombobulated, and I fell backwards into the water. I had many bruises and scars across my face for weeks. But the real damage was in here.
Thanks for sharing your story, Lillian. This is just one more story about the problems and dangers that came with the Asian carp invasion. Back to you, Cheryl.
Thanks, Wendy. And now a word from our sponsors, the Indiana honeysuckle.
Honeysuckle grows thick and wild in forests and parks. They steal nutrients, sunlight, and water from other plants and flowers, cutting down on the amount of biodiversity in many areas. Biodiversity is extremely important because without it, there is less genetic variation, and biodiversity helps promote healthy and diverse environments.
That's right, Todd. Because this invasive species is at large, there's a huge unbalance in plant diversity.
But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You can also stop honeysuckle by trimming your gardens frequently and pruning for honeysuckle plants regularly. Now over to Wendy and Nancy with a further report on Asian carp.
Thanks, Todd. The Asian carp is ruining the food web in the Great Lakes area because the more fish they eat, the less nutrients available for other organisms in their area. They can eat up to 3 times their weight in algae each day. This can be up to 300 pounds.
That's right, Nancy. But there is something we can do about this. You can put up fences in waterways specific to the Asian carp, or fish Asian carp to cut down the population numbers, promote biodiversity in your area, or inform others about this epidemic so they will know what to do if they come in contact with this invasive species. Back to you, Todd.
Thanks a lot, ladies. Well, that about wraps it up for tonight's newscast. Join us tomorrow for a special report on landfills. How do you stop them? And what do you do if you fall in one?
That's right, Todd. For all of us here at 5 o'clock news at 6, keep it classy. Thank you and good night.
biodiversity in many areas.
Thanks, Cheryl. Oh, did you start it?
Wait, who am I? Am I Wendy?
A huge unbalance in protein plant environment. No!
Thanks, Cheryl. I'm sitting alongside here with...
From the water, it was then I saw my life flash before my eyes.
Clock news at 6. Keep it click.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cock your head to the side and said I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying get back together, come back and see me.